Today I want to teach you how to correctly perform the 90-90 hip stretch. Very important stretch for the hips as it addresses those really deep tissues, including the hip capsule. Now the setup is key, so what we want to do is we want to make sure that that front thigh is extending out in front of the chest with a 90-degree angle at the front knee. The back thigh extends out to the side, again with a 90-degree angle at the back knee. In this position, if you feel like your body is spilling out to the side too much like this, okay, or the front knee is lifted, I want you to modify this a little bit by just pulling the foot in slightly, okay? That's going to reduce that angle of external rotation at that front hip. Before we achieve that stretch, I just want to also address you might feel some pinching in the back hip. If that's the case, bring that back knee forward slightly and that's going to be a little bit more comfortable. So get in the right position for you. I'm going to start in the 90-90 position here. To get a stretch under this front hip, which is what we're going to attempt to do in a second, the first thing I want you to do is post out on that outside arm and try and get your body, your shoulders square over that front hip, okay? So we're going to use that straight outside arm to try and square our shoulders over the front hip here. Both hands are down, my shoulders are square to that front shin, and to achieve a stretch, I'm going to do two things. I'm thinking of a couple of things here. Keeping my shoulders tall, so my spine long, and then from there I'm going to lean forward and think about hovering that belly button up and over the front shin, okay? So what we're trying to do here is we're just trying to tilt the pelvis. What we don't want to do is we don't want to round the spine because that's not going to do anything for the hip. So if you stay there, I'll show you what that looks like from the side, okay? So if you come back to this position, so I don't want to see this, okay, rounding of the spine. What we want to see instead is more this, okay? So again, belly button coming, hovering up and forward, and the shoulders lean, my spine is long and straight. And now I have a really deep stretch going on under that left hip here. So we're stretching the hip capsule and that deep tissues like the glute medius and minimus. And with a stretch, to be effective, we want 90 seconds to 2 minutes in that position. So once you find that stretch, I want you to slow your breathing down. That's key for an effective stretch. To sort of 3-second inhale, 4 to 6 second exhale, slow diaphragmatic breathing, and you're just going to hold that position for up to 2 minutes. So that addresses the front hip in the 90-90 position. The back hip right now is in internal rotation, so this is going to work external rotation. This one, we're now focusing on internal rotation. So to do this, I'm going to switch my position so you can see it better, okay? So I'm going to square up now here. I want you to place the sole of your front foot against your back thigh. That's the first thing you do. So you've created a shin box position here. You're going to place the hand, your inside hand, over your belly button, and you're going to rotate through this lower abdomen and square your shoulders up to the back shin, okay? Here. Now, as I did that, I rotated through here. You can see the turning. I'm winding up that hip into internal rotation. What we don't want to do is we don't want to just do this with the shoulders. You won't feel that stretch in this back hip very well that way. So we turn through here, we place the hands behind the body, and then I can adjust my hands. I'm really just trying to square up my shoulders now to the back leg. Now, to get an intense stretch going on, you might already feel it, and if you do, that's fine. But I want to think about sinking into this hip. So it's very subtle. I'm just thinking about sinking my weight down into that hip. The stretch we're looking for now is more at the top of the hip. We are working here the hip capsule, okay, which is the deepest layer of tissue at that hip. And for that, we're kind of thinking it's kind of like it's a weird sensation, not like a typical muscle stretch. Almost feels like something's kind of breaking, but that's kind of what the hip capsule feels like when it's being stretched. But it's a weird sensation a couple of inches down from the top of the hip there. And it's just a weird sensation. I can't really describe it, but you'll know if it doesn't feel like a normal muscle stretch. So from there, again, I'm just turning and just tweaking that position until I find that stretch. And again, I'm just going to slow my breathing down. Okay, there's no pain, there's no discomfort. It feels actually just quite nice, but I'm feeling that sensation a couple of inches down here, and I'm just going to hold that now. Again, 3 seconds in, 4 to 6 seconds exhale, and this allows time to stretch and release tension in that hip capsule. Now, the reason the 90-90 stretch, so the front and back hip, is so effective is because we're addressing rotation of the hip. And how much rotational capacity you have at the hip is a very, very good indicator of your overall hip health. So it's fundamental that we have space, capsular space to rotate. That means that we have space in the joint and the joint can move very freely. So I know you're thinking, well, so what if I've got good rotation here? But that's going to have an effect to everything you do with your hips. It's going to feel so much smoother. You're going to feel so much better motion when you improve your internal and external rotation at your hip. So that is how to correctly perform the 90-90 hip stretch for both the front and back side, and how you do the modifications if it is uncomfortable for you. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any comments, please drop them below. Like the video, subscribe. I really appreciate that. Thank you.